Ladies and gentlemen, bit of a weird video for you today. Apologize for being late, but hopefully you guys have wrapped up the collector's vault because it's ending in a couple of hours. The personal collector's vault. You got yourself a 4 and or 5-star version of Star-Lord's artifact. And yeah, today what I want to talk about instead though is not that. It's the game in general. And it's this idea that the game is boring because there's really not that much to do. And even when new characters come out, like Spot is going to be coming out soon, maybe Kang in the future, maybe High Evolutionary, whoever else, right? That these characters quickly become boring because there's not a lot of content to play them in. Now, I've wrestled with this idea for a long time. I've probably made a video about this before, or I've mentioned it in videos, but essentially, from my point of view, I feel like I'm partially to blame. And I'll explain why, but essentially the video has two parts. The first part is explaining the issue as I see it and my part in sort of perpetuating this problem. And then the second part is kind of just an open-ended question because I actually don't have an answer to why the game is boring and why we only focus on one or two game modes. I genuinely do not have an answer for this, and I could think of an answer for how to fix it, obviously, nice, but it doesn't necessarily work that way because the game modes don't just become fun because I say or somebody else says they're fun. They're fun because players play them and players have fun playing them. So maybe I'm totally off base here, and maybe the game is boring by and large, not overall, but in most game modes. Or maybe there is something that I have and other people have been missing for a long time. So basically, the thesis is, oh, hey, well, hold on. Some was, wow, a CTP of greed for only 6,500 crystals? Neat. I'll definitely buy that. Sorry, Tyree. Anyways, the thesis is pretty straightforward. You know, Spot's gonna come out, and if he's a really good support, for example, if he's a really good leadership, then we'll showcase that in a couple of different game modes. If he's not a leadership and he's not a support and he's just a DPS unit, because he can only go to tier 3, he's not going to be eligible for, he'll be eligible for all content, but we'll basically do a showcase. Like I can see the future here, guys, right? Spot comes out, I'm going to do a showcase in World Boss Legend. I'm going to show you how good he is, right? What his rotation is, if he's good enough with a proc, and then maybe we'll take him into some GBR, maybe see how good he is against Dormammu, and then maybe we'll wrap it up, maybe with a little bit of ABL or ABX if he has, maybe he's like the new version of Loki, for example, right? He's a more discounted version, especially if people missed out on Thanos and that seasonal uniform. But that's basically going to wrap it up, right? That's going to wrap it up for what basically 100% of content creators are going to say about Spot. That's it. How is it that I already know what everyone is going to say? Well, that's kind of what I'm saying about the rest of the game. It appears to me and to most players that the rest of the game is just not interesting enough to cover in content. And so I was originally going to pose this question a different way, in a more positive way. I was going to say, how can we make Marvel Future Fight more fun, right? How can we make the game more fun? Because if the devs are not going to make the game more fun, obviously that's the easiest route, right? We just keep nagging the devs and we keep, poking them, whatever. And then eventually they are going to rework Shadowland. They're going to rework this game mode and that game mode, whatever. And it'll be fun, right? And we've talked about fun. It's fun is two parts. It's discovery and exploration and experimentation, and then it's rewards, right? So fun always has multiple things working together with it. But if the devs are not going to rework any of these game modes, which, if you've been following the game for long enough, that's probably your point of view. They're not gonna fix any of these game modes, Alex. You're really hopium. You're really hoping for stuff that's not gonna happen. If they're not gonna do that, then we sort of have two choices. We just resign ourselves to not playing the game very much, or we convince ourselves, or I don't know, we try to see the game in it from a different perspective. This is where I struggle to find the answer, right? For a long time, when it first came out, I actually did enjoy timeline survival. I don't anymore, right, because I got tired of it, but I did think it was fun for some time. Now, I'm just going to choose a random assortment of characters here. I have not played this game mode in a long time, and I'm not using this game mode specifically to show you guys, like, oh, it's so fun, guys, you should be playing timeline survival right now. But this is my example of, like, why aren't we playing these game modes? I mean, there's lots of reasons why. You don't have time. It's boring. It doesn't give good rewards. Those are the top three. But it really, it's kind of weird, man. It's kind of weird. Like a game with so many game modes. I've thought about this before. A game with so many game modes, and it's still not that, it still seems like there's not that many things to do with characters. And I feel like other games have fewer game modes, and the player base makes more of them, like makes better use of them, if that makes any sense. So that's where I say that I'm sort of to blame for this, right? Most people don't play timeline survival for one of two reasons. One, it takes a long time. Two, the rewards are not very good, right? And again, we could rely on the devs to fix this, but the other possibility is that we just make it fun for ourselves. So this is where I'm kind of at a loss. How do we make it fun for ourselves? I genuinely need help figuring this one out. And now, listen, I know some people like timeline survival or timeline battle, for example. I know some people like timeline survival. I know they exist, right? I know some people really like Alliance Conquest, and I don't. It's tough. It's tough, and it's such a weird thing, but I think it's so important. And the way in which I think I'm responsible, and I think other content creators too are responsible, is when my channel was first starting out, I did make a variety of content, right? For the first 2 years of Conquest being out, I played it every week, right? Now, I have time constraints, whatever. I can't play the game for as long, blah, blah, blah. But most content creators don't touch Alliance Conquest, right? There are a couple, like Death Proof does weekly Conquest stuff. It's really good, but most content creators don't. Most content creators stick to what they think all of the majority of the player base who's online and watching wants to see, which is World Boss, right? GBR, and then a little sprinkling of Alliance battle content and timeline battle content. Just a little sprinkling, but only if the characters are very meta, right? And that's it. And maybe a little bit of story mode. But basically only to talk about the monthly characters as they rotate. So yeah, I'm kind of at a loss here. Obviously, certain content is not fun in any shape or form to really, no one's waking up to talk about Heroic Quest or Epic Quest, right? This is just shit that you do. You turn it on autoplay, whatever, dispatch, farming. No one's gonna make, you could make videos talking about the teams and stuff like that. You could talk about and have conversations about the teams. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just talking about like, hey guys, help me make better videos for Marvel Future Fight. That's not really what I'm saying, because if you go on the forums, if you go on Facebook, if you go on Discord, and you look at what people are talking about for the game, they're not content creators, they're not making money, right? There's no incentive. They're just talking about the same things, right? Like every once in a while they'll talk about Shadowland because they're trying to get to 135 for the CTP selector or something like that, right? But it's very brief. Right, and when normal average players talk about new updates, they're like, I wonder where we'll be able to use Spot. People have already looked at the update and said, if this character gets tier 4, then we'll be able to push this world boss legend to a higher level, right? We'll be able to unlock this new set of stages because they have a particular, ability that we need for World Boss Legend or something like that, right? The discourse around the game is always the same. It's always just World Boss, GBR, and then a tiny bit of PvP and maybe a little bit of ABX, right? And that's basically it. So that kind of sucks. I don't know. But I could be completely wrong here, right? I could be completely wrong, and it could be the case that most game modes are boring. Because they don't have very good rewards, they don't have good replayability, they're very repetitive, and because they haven't been updated in years, so they don't really reflect the state of the game, right? I realize that I could be wrong on this one, but I wanted to pose the question, and I wanted to kick off the conversation in case there is something that I'm missing, because I do know that there are some players out there who like content that I don't like, and who want to see content that I don't make, but at the same time, right? It's a two-way thing, right? It's definitely harder to make content that fewer people are going to watch. Just like if you walk into a room and you start talking about battle zords, which is a, you know, very micro niche game from, you know, some island off the coast of Australia that 5 people have heard of, chances are when you walk into that room and start talking about battle zords, no one is going to know what you're talking about, and no one is going to have a conversation with you, and then you know, it's just quickly going to end, right? So whether or not it's a content creator thing, it's still like the same problem still comes up, right? I guarantee you there's at least one person watching this that wants to talk to someone about timeline survival. But every time they go on Facebook or they go on Discord or whatever and they bring it up, people just roll their eyes and they're like, bro, this game mode's trash. Why are you playing it? And then the person's like, okay. And then they just bounce, right? Or they're like, okay, fine. I'll talk about what everyone wants to talk about. Guys, I beat level 37 of gore. Whoa. You know, because that's the only thing we've deemed valuable in the game. You know what I mean? Climbing World Boss Legend, beating GBR a couple of seconds faster. Whoa. It's like, yeah, I guess that certainly is one way of interpreting it and like enjoying the game for sure. But I feel like we've also, and I've also done the community a disservice by only focusing on those things and not focusing on anything else. So yeah, that's not to say that, not to give you guys hope here. That's not to say that I'm going to suddenly start making videos on this content. I'm probably going to give them another pass, another look on my own and see if I can find anything interesting. But it is something that I wanted to bring up because, you know, otherwise I just rag on the devs. It's literally this, or I just rag on the devs. Like, you haven't updated Shadowland in 4 years. You haven't updated Timeline Survival in like 2.5 years since you introduced it. You haven't updated Otherworld Battle in over a month since you introduced it. You haven't updated the tournament in like 7 years. You haven't updated this shit in like 3 years. You know, those are basically the two options that we have, or just pretending everything is fine and being like, whoa guys, we got another world boss character, let's go, dude. Oh, woo. Who saw that coming, guys? You can now clear the same stages of Null that you could clear with the last 40 villains with the new villain spot. Hey guys, you could clear it with Moonstone, you could clear it with Mephisto, you could clear it with Doctor Doom and like 25 other characters, but now you can also clear the exact same stage in a completely random amount of time with Spot. Isn't that super exciting? All right, guys, stay tuned for the next video where I do the exact same thing with another character. So yeah, I don't know. I'm memeing on my own content at the same time. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll genuinely be reading them and seeing, you know, what kind of conversation develops from this, if any. Maybe I'm totally off base. Who knows? Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Let me know down below in the comments. I'd appreciate it. Smash the like button. It helps out the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.